Composition and production by our new brother, new friend, Marco. He'll be on in just a minute. Shows resonate with you, please share. That was a pretty powerful piece, wasn't it? I'm going to bring our guest on, a new friend, brother by the name of Marco. And we're going to talk about his creations and talk about the ascension, talk about whatever's going on right now, real time. Thank you, everybody, for coming in. Let me pull him up on the screen now. Can you hear me?
Yes, hi Todd. How are you?
Hello, Marco. Let me turn your video on. Let me turn your video on.
Sure.
A second. There you go. Pleasure to meet you. How's it going?
It's going wonderful, Todd. It's such a pleasure to connect with you and your beautiful people. Thank you for having me with you.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm glad we were able to arrange this. We got your buddy Franco coming on right after this.
I'm going to see him in a few days.
I heard about that. I heard you guys are pretty good friends.
We are very good friends.
Yeah, you know, this is a...
Yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry. There is a little bit of an echo.
Yeah. No, there's a lag. Yeah, there's a lag. So, no, you were saying you're going to go see Franco.
I'm going to see Franco in a few days. We already have quite a wonderful interaction in the past in many levels and in many ways. The last time that I saw him, actually the first time I saw him, it was at his latest retreat, where we spent 7 lovely days together and with all the beautiful people that was there. And it was beautiful. And also we had the opportunity to play a little bit with music. So it was quite fun and beautiful to see how the heart open when music is there.
Oh, that's beautiful, man. Did Franco dance? I'm just messing with you.
Franco was dancing with the camera he was shooting the video that I published, actually, we published. And he was dancing with the camera.
So, right on. I love that piece that you sent me to, I was going to go through your stuff and see what fit, but that was perfect. So did you put all of that together, the music, the lyrics, and the video production and everything? Do you do everything yourself?
Yes, but of course I had the fortune to have next to me wonderful musicians, wonderful co-creative people. But let's say the music is written by me, the production of the album and everything else. The video actually is being produced by Ashley Roger, who is a wonderful documentary video producer, and with her I did a few other video, and on that time when we were all together in Ecuador shooting and doing the concert with the Philharmonic Orchestra.
Wow, that's a powerful thing. There's so much we could talk about. We're just going to have a conversation in front of all of our friends, and we appreciate the fact that you're here sharing space with us. Is your music I guess is the theme of the music or the story of the music tied to a certain part of life? Is that part of the expression?
Absolutely. Music has been with me since I can recall the earliest time of my life, and probably much earlier than that. In my perception, we all come from sound. When source creates, the first manifestation is in a waveform, is a sound signature that take place. And then from there, source start to expand the creation in other form of expression. But I recognize sounds as the unity field for all of us to find oneness and love. And that's basically, in a nutshell, the reason why I create music.
Wow. That resonates very deeply. I mean, a lot of people come on this show. We've had almost 1,500 shows now, and they download, unique communications from the universe. I mean, it sounds to me like this is coming from your soul. Is this what you would consider a communication from infinite intelligence? This explanation you have of creation, because it resonates deeply with the sound thing.
Absolutely. And yes, and we all have the ability to communicate in that matter with our uniqueness, with our unique gift. We all have access to what you call source, or our part of us that is non-physical, that is in a higher level of appreciation. We all can communicate with that part of us. In fact, I would say that we should, and we really should communicate and take action from that communication all the time. That would be that would be extremely transformational for the planet. And I think that's what is occurring right now, gradually.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. I am soul. I totally agree with that. So, were you born like this, or did you have a wake up experience like a lot of people do?
I would say that in a way, I was already I already had a strong predisposition to that tuning. So when I arrive into the physical experience, in a way, you could say I was aware of many things, and I didn't fall in full in a state of full forgetfulness like others choose to, because I guess my purpose was to maintain a certain degree of awakening, as you call it, so that I could operate in a specific way. But that doesn't mean that I was better than the other. I just made a different choice because I have different purposes.
Was there a, yeah, I totally understand that. I can relate to that. Was there a time though when, a lot of people talk about 2012 or, give or take a couple of years. Was there a time when you really started to see that, what's occurring now, like the materialization or manifestation of a physical reality that's going to take on higher dimensional characteristics? I mean, was there a time when you said, "Wow, this is really going down collectively"?
Well, I would say that that experience it occurs every time I conceive a musical piece. Every time I am connecting with source and I download some information, that become obvious to me instantly. It become obvious that everything is love, and we are just playing a role and having some fun with some energy here. But also, I recall that when I was a child, since I was a child, I recall recognizing the high degree of density, fragmentation, and separation, and polarities, and inevitably, every time I would go to sleep at night and I would close my eyes, I would recall through the whole day all this dance, and I would feel love with both the sides of the polarities, and in this way I would maintain myself pure, and I would reset my system basically for the next day to come. So to answer your question, what you ask, that feeling is always been within myself in every day of my life, that everything is one. This is just an experience. We are just playing
Yeah,
some roles.
yeah, that's profound. Yeah, that's good programming coming in. You didn't erase your memory too much. So yeah, so another way, I guess, too, do you see more people? I mean, you've been like this your whole life, really. I mean, especially with the music, so you're constantly anchoring in that infinite intelligence creative seed. But I mean, are you starting to see, or have you seen more and more people becoming aware of the same things you've been aware of?
Yes, absolutely. Particularly in the last maybe 1 year, I saw in the last 3-4 years I felt some subtle energy moving, but in the last 6-7 months, I'm starting to see some quite obvious evidences of the
Yeah,
shifting that is occurring. So this is a
yeah.
time where people like you or like people like me are going to start to be recognized, and probably they're going to become in demand more and more.
Like on demand video. Click.
Right.
No.
Yes.
So yeah, you know what? You're not the only one that's saying that. I've heard that one way or the other from people or something I've read. Actually, I was listening to my partner and I were listening to Cry On about 3 nights ago, and
Mhm.
he was talking about the same thing you're talking about. He had a different vernacular. He was referring to him as healers, but old souls who had done this many, many, many times and had
Mm,
always been kind of an outcast
mm.
in their village or their community or whatever, and how they were going to be coming into demand because of the vibration and a level of illumination that their soul was actually emitting. So yeah, that's interesting. I think
Yes,
another
absolutely.
sign that yeah, I think another sign that's kind of showing that same alignment that you're talking about is people are writing about the same intel coming in. They're saying the same thing, like you just said that what you said, and I've read it or heard it, I know 2 3 times in the last week or two. The same thing. Do you see that happening in the music, the end of the music industry that you're in? Do you see more people making music with the type of energy and expression that yours has?
Um, at the level of media, mainstream media, I see, well, I have to say, I don't watch very much I don't follow very much the media stream. So I shouldn't even say that, but I don't sense that still it's really coming powerfully, this new way, more organic to do things, in this case, music. But when I interact with musicians, like when I interact with many other people, I see that there is an internal search, an internal, let's say, insatisfaction, or internal is becoming for them more and more insustainable to maintain that level of dissociation with their heart, because their heart was guided them in the first place to music, and then through the music industry, the music educational system, they forgot. But now I can sense that the soul really wants to, and the heart soul want to take over, and so I can see a lot of internal conflicts. And I saw that particularly in this new album that I'm doing right now. I just finished to produce a new album, and I saw evidences of that many times among the musicians I was interacting with.
Wow, that's very interesting. That's a microcosm of what's happening on the macro.
Yes.
Really,
Yeah.
because what you're describing is somebody through whatever means is connecting with their heart or from their heart, or however you want to describe it. Could be like poetry or dance or whatever makes somebody really, really happy. And then to try to, I guess, like you said, they go into the industry, it gets a little institutionalized, and then they move away from the heart. What a great analogy.
Yeah.
But that the heart's calling them back. Yeah, that's
Yes.
very cool. Yeah, that's a good description of the ascension. Do you have, everybody's got their own method. I mean, do you have a certain discipline that you follow? I mean, I don't. I mean, but do you have like, I mean, do you meditate regularly? Do you do certain things to, add to the experience of the energy of your experience?
No, I don't have a discipline. What I do, in a moment by moment, I surrender. In every moment, I surrender to uh, to whatever the resonance asks me to surrender to. Uh, I don't know if you can call that a discipline. It's just my natural way of operate, or to make a decision, to decide which direction to go. And even in the small things, I try to completely surrender. If I have to take a shower, I completely surrender to the shower. And that allows me to not take too much seriously the idea of past and future, and
Mm.
stay more focused on the now. And and I notice that the more I surrender to the now, the more divine is the quality of my doing, because there is no pollution and contraction that
Yeah.
comes from the ego mind that is all constantly running past, future, past, future, past, future.
I like that. I think that's I wouldn't call that a discipline either. I go back to
Right.
my favorite phrase, that Zen proverb, let go or be dragged. But it sounds like, uh the let go, the surrender, has been happening more and more. I know in my life, and I think in a lot of other people's lives. But to think about it constantly, moment by moment, that's a powerful thing. But you know what? That makes all the sense in the world.
Yeah,
To
I'm not saying that
surrender.
I'm not saying that I accomplish that all the time, you know, but
I know that unless you want to go walk on water. I'm just
right.
kidding. But no, I can appreciate that. What do you do when what do you do when you get off balance? I mean, everybody's got their own way to do it, or you get triggered, or you just, you're off. What do you do
Yeah,
to
I
get
just
back
enjoy.
into balance?
I just enjoy the experience. Okay, I'm off. Let's
Yeah.
see. That's wonderful, because being off, it's an excellent way to then go back to be on more powerfully.
I like that. Yeah, I like that. That's very good. Very good. I thought we were going to be talking to a musician. I'm just kidding.
You
No,
are.
it's a beautiful thing. I know that your music is really. I mean, to me, I get the sense that your music's really tied close to the words that you speak. I mean, the words that you're speaking right now. I mean, it just feels. I can feel it in what you're saying. How how long have you been doing what you're doing with this type of music and putting that expression out there, and do you have anything new coming, like any type of new
Yes.
sound coming or something like that?
Yes. Okay. So I started right away to do music when I was a very very little child. I would say probably 3 years old. I already was studying, going to music, and it was my, again, as I said before, it was my way to deal to um, provide support for the dramatic dynamics of my environment. It was my way to say, hey, listen to this, there's love here, yeah, that was
Right on.
the idea. But the second question, yes, I just finished an album right now. It's called Journey of the Soul. I've been producing this album in the Netherlands last winter, and I just
Mm.
finished to mix it, and I'm right now mastering it. And now I'm going to the next steps of this creative process, because as usual, when you fully embrace the mysteriousness of creativity, always new things come out. So I started with the idea of an album, and then this album started to take form and create a narrative. And this narrative is starting to create also a sequence of information, also at the words level, at the speaking level, that can be valuable for whoever is in resonance with this. So the album right now is taking the shape of a small book with some
Okay,
teaching and
so
information in it. Yeah.
so I just want to go back to something that you said because it jumped out at me. So you said that basically, I think is what you said, that there's a lyrical resonance both in what's being said and maybe the resonance of the voice that's saying it that's within the music. Is that right?
Now, what happened is, well, this is an instrumental. There are
Okay.
vocals, but they are used the
Yeah.
vocal as an instrument. What happened is that,
That's what I meant. Yeah.
um, for example, just to give you an example of how the process always surprises me, I started to mix the album, and I started to notice the titles of all the tracks, 8 tracks. And then I started to see that there is a connection that I was not aware before between each title. And then I realized that each title is a chapter of a story. And so now every track that has a title is becoming a chapter of a story, and the story is the story of the soul. That's why I end up calling this album Journey of the Soul. And of course, it's a biography, soul. So I will be talking about my soul, but in a way will probably resonate with many other souls, because we more or less are facing similar challenges when we enter the physical experience, when we choose this physical experience. And so what's happening now that I see that the narrative is starting to showing some informations that could be valuable for humanity, not only as a music experience, but also as an information message, maybe workshop, retreat. And that's it.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm going to talk about with Franco when I'm going to meet him.
Yeah. No, I get that totally. So what you're basically saying is that this is an instrumental album. It's an instrumental composition. It
Yes.
does have some vocals in it, but they're used as musical, instruments basically, which is really cool. And that basically, the vibration, composed of all those frequencies that you put into it, is carrying code and messages, information.
Yes.
Okay, for people, no different than they look at a mandala or they look at a painting or something symbolic, a sacred geometric figure, but yours is an expression that's real time present for for the collective. Is that right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
more or less is like this. Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, that's very cool. I like that. And I can I'm not a musician. I've done some stuff with music, I've done, probably like 100 productions that I used to do back in the old studio. But one of the things I noticed is because like 95% of them were one take, and I would write something, then I would find some music, and I'd have the headphones on, and I would just push record and go. And what I noticed though was even like working with the video production software, be it the music, the last word that I spoke ended with the last note, or all these little anomalies would happen that later on I realized were like universal alignment. Like in that moment, because of that place you were talking about earlier, where you stay in the now and surrender to the moment, totally give yourself to the moment, you have this incredible creative spark that can come out of you. And it sounds like that's what you do. As you were talking, like, as you were getting this album ready to mix and master, you saw all the titles were telling a story and they were in order, the journey of the soul. These things like that happen, and you can't make that shift up,
No.
it's real.
Yes, and you mentioned one take, and that's exactly how things happen. The more you're connected with this, with the now, the more is one passage, whatever happened, and it's perfect as it is. Then, of course, the mind might start to say, "Oh, that's a mistake," because we have been conditioning to believe that there is such a thing as mistake. And in fact, we are conditioned to believe that there's such a thing as mistake, to the point that we are very afraid to make mistakes. When I position myself in front of a music instrument, I welcome mistakes, because every mistake is a portal to something that I didn't know before.
Yeah. I like that. That's why I like doing everything live, because as soon as you turn it on, you're live. There's nothing you can do about it.
Exactly.
And you make enough mistakes and you start to get comfortable with them, and and
Yes.
everything's okay.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Yeah. Yeah, that's really cool. I love music. It's always been a big part of my life, really. I mean, sometimes I get away from it a little bit and then I come back. But yeah, it's like I don't know. There's something about it. When I came off the streets after a couple of years, when I woke up, I just wrote prose and poetry for like a year and a half, and I listened to two songs the whole time. I listened to the theme of "A River Runs Through It," which is like 2 minutes and 24 seconds, and I just looped it. And the other one was "Adagio with Strings," Samuel Barber. You ever heard that one? The theme from Platoon, the movie.
Yes.
Yeah, I would just play it over and over and over, and it just, I don't know, it was like being in suspended creative and animation or something.
Yeah.
It was a perfect place to be. Yeah,
Yes.
I love music. So would you classify, I mean, I don't like labels and all that, but there's some music, a style of music that I've done quite a bit of spoken word to by a couple of different artists, and they classify it like neoclassical. Does that ring a bell to you? Neoclassical. I mean, it's kind of classical, but it's got like a modern edge to it. It's got some drum beats, that type, some bass. I think a more prominent bass than you would see in traditional classical. Does that ring a bell with you?
Well, I would say that probably the album that you just heard, the piece that you just heard, is part of a collection called Unfolding Secrets, and that could be defined contemporary classical or neoclassical. This new album, it has also a little bit of world Aboriginal kind of flavor on top of being a little bit more classical. So it takes it takes the whole thing to another level where also there is moments of improvisation, and which I call soundscapes. So it's a combination of melodies, so structured music, and then soundscape, where the musicians just play and have a conversation between themselves.
Yeah, that's beautiful. That's totally cool. I love, I say it all the time on this show. It's the spontaneous, intuitive, creative, imaginative, and depending on what you're doing or what you're talking about, the courageous, those 5 aspects of the soul, you know.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. At
because
this
like you,
time, I am using music to go deep into the emotions. This
yeah,
is what is music in my work is about, is to create deep, profound emotions so that we can liberate
yeah,
ourselves from artificially created emotion and connect
yeah,
with our true organic emotions. And once this process is completed, it might be completed. My guides will tell me when, but probably it's going to be another few years, and then I will start to get more into other power of music, other things that music can do. But for now, we are really go deeper into the emotions.
yeah. I like that. That's very cool. And I like the spontaneous, the improvisational. That to me carries the most power,
Yeah,
because you're in that space where it's like swimming in a deep ocean. You can't stop, so you just got to keep on going.
yeah.
Yeah, that's very cool. So there's a lot of well, I don't want to make that statement. Does it require courage, the energy of courage when you create?
Well, courage is required only when there is fear.
Yeah,
Um, so if I am having a moment of fear, then yes, I will have to tap into the idea of courage. Otherwise, not. What all
yeah,
it require is being in a require fully to embrace the frequency of knowing,
yeah, yeah.
not even trust, knowing, which is a step further.
Do you do it by yourself typically when you work on the original stuff? As you create stuff, do you usually work by yourself?
Yes, the first, the melody, the conception of the melody, the creation of the melody is something that I do by myself.
Yeah.
Yes. Then the other layers of production, I might invite other people. It depends on what I'm
Mhm.
doing and what my the music says that I need to do.
Yeah. I have a personal question.
Sure,
So when
go
I
for it.
used to when I when I used to write the lyrics, I'd write the lyrics out first and then I'd search for the music.
Yeah,
Well, the whole time actually, I used to call in uh I used to call in the energies of different musicians and writers and have them sit with me while I did it. Now, at the time, I never thought I'd tell anybody that because I wouldn't want them to think I was crazy. But do you ever do anything like that? Do you ever pull in specific consciousnesses or energies or essences when you work?
not that I'm aware of consciously.
Mm.
Consciously, I just tap with my heart. So basically, what I do, I just touch the piano or whatever instrument I'm using, and the notes trigger in me an emotion. The emotion
Yeah,
collect me immediately with my heart, the purity of the heart, and then immediately I connect with source, and then some melody come through instantly in one passage, and that's done. And
yeah,
because the mind is not engaged, if I don't record it, I will be lost because I will not be able to repeat it.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. The Frank Zappa method. Record everything. No, that's a, well, I'm yeah. That's really cool. I guess I am crazy. I must be the only one that does
It's a
that.
good sign. If people tell you that you're crazy, you say, wow, thank you for really
Yeah,
see who
right.
I am.
Yeah, that's the two rules of the ascension is if it doesn't make sense, do it, and if people tell you you're crazy, you're on the right track.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is really cool. I mean, it's an interesting conversation. Yeah, I mean, do you feel that that your productions, that when you put the whole thing out, it's a healing in itself for people?
I don't know about the word healing. It's just the way how I create doesn't hold any expectations. So I'm not really concerned about what happened after I create a piece of music. But of course, what happened is that when you connect and you create, you get such a profound experience of joy that eventually you say, oh, it would be lovely everybody feel that way. And so that kind of pushes you to share. But it is important to remove the expectations, because if the expectations are there, then you start to manipulate the information in order to get something. And then the purity of the musical piece of music will be, how do you say, polluted with the ego vibrations, and so it will diminish the
Yeah.
impact to the people that we are going to listen.
Yeah, there you go. That's why if you do it live and it's improvisational, you don't have a choice. Just push the button and post it. Yeah,
Yes,
those are.
yeah,
I love that. I love that. Even when like I see people, I love to see people like open up Facebook and you see three or four people doing a live video, just talking to the camera, and it doesn't even matter what they're talking about. If it's the truth frequency comes through, you know what I mean? Like that space that you're talking about that you create from it just comes through. And that's why I love doing this show, because if it's a conversation, it's natural. It's just coming through. There's no
yeah.
rehearsal. There's no,
No,
anything like that.
all you have to be, you have to be, all you have to do is to be fully yourself in the best of your capacity. That's all.
Yeah.
And of course, the idea of being fully yourself, there is always more to be yourself of. So it's an ongoing process. It's the same as awakening. Nobody's ever fully awakened, because if you are fully awakened, then you don't exist anymore. You are back to source. So there is always something more to awaken to, and that's what makes the journey so fascinating, so
Yeah.
incredibly
Yeah.
exciting and fun.
Yeah. Yeah. It gives you a different perspective as you head into these situations that used to make you uncomfortable. Like you said earlier, on the other side of it is a portal.
Yeah.
Yeah. So now you live in Europe, I think, and you're traveling in the US, and you're going to Canada right now, right?
Yes, actually, I used to live in America. I lived in America for
Hmm.
22 years, but in the last few years, I felt that my wonderful American journey was coming to a conclusion, and whatever lessons and situation I had to experience were completed. And so I felt a call to go back to Europe. And so I think 3 or 4 years ago, I went back to Europe. I lived in Greece, and then I lived in Portugal, and then of course in Italy, because it's my country. I was in Tuscany. And then the last 6 months, I was in the Netherlands completing this album. And now I have to be here in America for a few more days in Sedona, and then I will be with Franco for a few days, and then from there we'll see what happens.
I just missed you in Sedona. We were just there.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah,
we had a little get together. Yeah, we had a little get together. It was how was it, like 3 hours? We did it at the Sedona Community Center. We had some light language. We had a we had a beautiful sister that she basically transmits har- uh, harmonic light language, the language of light, harmonics, and incredible. Shakina Rose, and then my other sister, she plays the crystal bowls and gong, and they're incredible. But a guy came up from L.A. who does some incredible light language, Romeo Barron, and he's done quite a bit of different things with it, including putting like a hip hop beat behind it or a rap beat behind it. And it's really cool. But
Hmm.
anyway, those two got up and did an improvisational. They both just started doing light language in their own way. Then a lady came up from the crowd and she joined them on the stage and did another version. And then we had a flute with Romeo that just they just did it freestyle, improvisational. It was beautiful, man. It was powerful.
Ah,
There was a didge there. There was a didge, and there was a few other things going on. But yeah, I love to
lovely.
just keep adding more and more frequencies, whether it be to a show like that or to a production or a song, a music video, or whatever, and just keep adding more and more frequencies and playing with them,
Hmm.
to that ever expanding vibration. Just like you're talking about the Aboriginal beats that you're going to bring into this new one you're doing.
Yes. Well, the first was at the beginning of the production. This is a all live album,
Mm.
and the attempt was to do everything in 432 hertz. And unfortunately, I have to give it up because many instruments didn't work very well because they've been built to work on 440, because since the Second World War, the standardization of the tuning of music has been shifted to frequencies that involve more the mind and the heart. And so when you try to perform or tune certain instrument to the 432, which is a more organic, natural frequency, some instrument don't work. And so after a while, I had to let go of that idea. So what I'm going to do now during the mastering, I'm going to shift everything to 432 and see if that works. So, but besides the
So,
frequency,
oh
yeah, go ahead.
yeah,
Go ahead.
no, no, no. I'm sorry. I mean, interrupt, but I always wondered about that because, and thank you for explaining that. So not all the instruments can hit 432 hertz, but when you master it, you can at least attempt to bring it all to 432 hertz. Does that change the sound or the tone or anything?
Yes, very, very little, but sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. It depends.
Yeah,
That's why I
yeah,
haven't done yet, but I will try and see how it feels. But it's just an attempt to bring everything even more. It's already very organic because it's been played live
yeah,
and it's been played as much analog as possible, not so much
yeah.
digital. And the next attempt is to bring everything the right frequency. So I will see how it goes when I'll try it.
Cool. Do you obviously? Well, I won't say obviously. It seems to me that you have been doing this a long time, and I don't mean just in this incarnation. Like wherever you came from, whatever your lineage is, this seems to be a big, big part. The music, the tones, the vibration of music seems to be a big part of your soul.
Oh yes, definitely, definitely. Already 3 years old, I already was very clear what I was going to do. So, and I had many time. I had occasionally worked with shamanics or energy people, healer, past regression, and of course, music always come with big names or big situations in the past. But I really want to stay focused on this physical experience. So I don't feel like I need to gather those information and bring it into the mix,
Yeah,
because then the ego can come in right away and start to mess up things. So I just want to stay focused on Marco now creating music.
yeah, right on. Yeah, I just wonder, like, that's one of those things you just know, right? Do you?
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, you're connected to infinite intelligence in a very unique way, powerful way through your music and I guess my question is, do you say that we're here to basically to play, right? We're here to play and not
Yes.
take this all so seriously and actually just stay in that moment, surrender to the resonance of the moment and just express. Basically, that's the way I'm reading you. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. To have fun, to play, to follow our imagination, which is, in my opinion, is the only way out of this, is our imagination, our joyful imagination. That's the tool that we have been given to ourselves. And in a way, you can say that that tool gives us the strength of the power of a God. Because when you can imagine, there is really nothing you cannot do, unless the only thing that can limit your imagination and your creation is your limited beliefs. So once you identify the limited beliefs and let it go, now you have access to a wide range of new possibilities that were not there before. And that's the fun part. You keep deprogramming yourself, and now new possibilities are part of your life.
I'm just curious. Do you spend much? And there's no right or wrong answer. Do you spend much time in dimension? What people might call astral traveling or bilocation, or whatever, daydreaming, surfing the cosmos, or do you tend to stay planted in this moment by moment surrender and expression flow?
No, I really try to stay here with Mother Earth and really fully infuse myself with the physical experience, because most of us, we already master the other experiences, and there is no point to come here and go through all this quite intense work and then keep living it, So
Yeah.
but for some people it's very important to do so. For now, for me, it hasn't, because in a way, every time I create, I'm already doing that,
Mhm.
So the game, the deliciousness of this experience is to stay in this call it 3D world, and with your imagination bring from higher dimensions something into the 3D world that hasn't been done before. And that's the fun part. That's what is fun for me,
Yeah. Hey, I'm totally in alignment with you. I totally understand what you're saying. I get it. Same soul tribe or something. Same part of the same soul tree or something. I don't know. Yeah, that's right. That's absolutely right. Yeah, that's very cool. We have Franco in the lobby here. And I
Oh,
think
okay.
Morgan mentioned some I think she mentioned something to me about Franco said he'd come on a little early. It's way early. We're actually 56 minutes from the show we're going to do.
Okay.
But yeah, I think if he's open to it, Franco, if you're open to it, uh, answer the chat. I mean, answer the prompt. Yeah, I'd love to see. So, how long you guys known each other? Has it been a while?
Franco, I think maybe 5-6 years. I really have
Oh
hard
yeah,
time to remember time because I don't.
yeah.
Hey, Franco,
I know how
here
that.
it is.
Hello, hello.
Hi,
Hey,
Franco.
hey, Franco.
Good to see you
How's it going,
guys.
Franco?
Good,
Yeah.
excellent, excellent. I was listening to the conversation there. I was really enjoying it. Of course, I always enjoy what you guys have to share.
Uh,
So,
yeah. It's interesting talking to Marco because it's like talking to you. It's a different. It has a little different face on it, but it's the same thing. It's really the same thing. It's a pleasure.
yeah,
So you
he
guys have known
does.
each other 5 or 6 years.
I think so. Do we, Franco? I think more
Yeah,
or less.
at least 4 or 5 years. Yes,
Yeah.
yes,
Yeah.
yes. It was when I guess you had one of the symphonies that you've put together some years ago. We contacted just before that. I can't recall what it was called now, but it was a few years back. But
So I guess
then,
yes, it was 2013. I think something like that.
yeah, that sounds about right. Yes,
Yeah.
yes. So, and we've stayed in touch. We've communicated. There was a period of time we didn't communicate as often for a little while there because you were busy with your thing and I was dealing with some other things. So
Right.
that, but then we kind of reconnected again, and we also had the pleasure to meet in person because mainly it was always Skype at one point, then it was Zoom, but then we
Yeah.
met in person when he came to the retreat we had back in the end of July into August. So, and it was a profound connection. Actually, it felt like I met a brother I never had, you know, in that way, because like I had brothers, but never to a connection where it felt like a part of you was kind of separating. When I dropped him off at the airport, it was really interesting, because I normally don't feel that way about people, and it did feel that way with Marco. So I knew that there was a new level of connection made.
Yeah, I feel the same. Absolutely.
Now I know why for the first two shows I kept calling Franco Marco.
You know, you're not the only one. I noticed also at the retreat, many people were changing names, you know, from the one to the other.
Well, who knows? I mean, who knows how this thing's all put together, regardless of how deep we might, you know, understand it.
Mm-hmm.
You guys could be, who knows how this works? You know, we could be talking to the same person, just two different bodies. So you guys are going to do a little, you guys are going to explore co-creation, collaboration when you go up to Canada. Is that right, Marco?
Well, yeah, I mean, we've been exploring that for a while. It's just, I guess it's a matter of timing and frequencies, alignment. That's what it is. So once in a while, I tune in with Franco and see when, oh no, let's wait a little bit longer because this and this has to happen first. So that's what we've been doing. But in truth, energetically, the interaction already has started, and we are ready at a certain level. I'm sure we are co-creating, you know, in many levels, I'm sure. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
and the thing is, you know, it's a beautiful combination because of his gifting of music and the sound, and even we managed to get something really profound during the retreat, where we blended the music, his music, to the meditations that we were doing, and it just brought it to a whole other level. And it was quite amazing. And in fact, even myself as a transmitter of the meditation, because it's basically a guided meditation with activation built into it, I found that it was also carrying myself to another level, so that even my voice tuned to the music that he was providing at the time. So it was a beautiful collaboration, that's for sure.
Was it one take? I bet it was.
Yes, it's always one take.
Always.
Yeah.
And you know, with Marco was saying that, you know, in his music it's one take. Even doing my events, it's one take. Because it's really my higher self that's speaking through me. It's not myself, and it's not like I memorize anything or even know what I'm going to say. Like I prepare for a retreat, and even the last one, the 7 days, I mean, that's a lot of content there. But, you know, besides having a few little points just to kind of stay on track, you have no idea what you're going to say, but it is all one take because it just comes through at one time. And it's a beautiful ride because you feel part of it while you're going through it.
Yeah, right on. Yeah. Y'all have a good symmetry, natural symmetry. Good fit. So have you run into Marco in Dimension at all? to your memory?
You know, in fact, we've had some pretty strong connections for many, many years, over 20 years. You know, even when we started talking, there was a soul recognition that we've known each other for a very long time, even though we never really communicated on the physical form. And, you know, we were both not in a position to make that alignment yet, because there was other things that needed to take place for both of us. But, you know, when I first connected with him, it felt like, wow, you know, we've crossed paths many times on other dimensions for sure, because it felt like we've worked together before in accessing things and working with different levels of consciousness and levels of creation. So that's my personal experience from what I've felt when I first started connecting with him. And it's almost like we knew it was going to come where we would actually, you know, connect on a physical realm and be able to collaborate or something of that nature. But I knew it would be when the timing was all aligned, everything. And it's not only just us, it's a collective alignment too, right? And it's where everybody else is too. And it's the same with yourself and myself and others, you know. We know when to connect because it's just like, okay, it feels right now. And then it just picks up like we've, you know, been preparing it for years, you know, or that we've been, you know, doing it like for a long time.
It's a there's like a cadence to it. It's not hard to fall into it. So so Marco, you've got something you mentioned it earlier that you had in mind in you know, some idea of how you or what you wanted to work towards in the collaboration. I think were you talking about now using your instrumental and a meditation style like y'all did before, or what type of idea did you have?
You mean related to a collaboration with Franco or in general?
Yes. No, with Franco.
With Franco, yes. Well, there are many stream of creative ideas that come through. With this, my latest album, definitely there is a possibility, and of course that will occur if Franco is in resonance and if the time is right, the alignment of frequencies are right. But I sense that there is a possibility to create a live experience which include a concert, a high vibrational concert with Franco work together. And it might be, and each will empower the other. And I think that's a vision that I sense when I was going deeper into this new album called Journey of Imagination. I sense that I could sense at a certain point Franco came into the picture, you know, and said, oh, that's interesting. And so I realized that, again, once the album was also leading me to create a narrative, the narrative was also leading to a teaching. And that's the moment where I felt Franco knocking at the door, you know. And so I don't know if this is going to happen.
He was probably banging on it. He was probably banging on the door. Bam, bam, bam. I'm tired of waiting. But no, that's a beautiful picture, though. That's a beautiful picture. That's like, you know, you picture like you go to, you know, to an auditorium and you see a symphony with the maestro. And like, this is like the 5D, the high, this is the new frequency. This is, like you said earlier, creating something that hasn't been created before in one take. And so everybody goes, instead of the traditional symphony, there's, I don't know what it looks like, but I can see what you're talking about. You know, I can see the message coming through with the music. And like Franco was talking about, when he starts to talk, the music, you know, basically merges with him, and it becomes more than just, you know, Franco talking or your music. So that's fascinating.
Yeah.
I didn't mean to bring that up. I didn't know you hadn't discussed it with Franco yet.
No, I actually did mention briefly.
Yes. Yeah.
No, it's amazing. Go ahead.
No, I am saying there is really no secrets, you know. We are not doing anything. I mean, everything is open and everything is spontaneous and everything is the now.
Yeah.
And there is a great deal of mysteriousness in all this. So all I can tell you is what I feel now, and this maybe change or transform itself. And that's why being in this journey is so fun, because the unexpected constantly manifests itself.
Yeah.
That's what makes things very, very interesting and exciting.
Oh, absolutely, it does. So maybe if you guys, you know, I know the full moon just came, but if you're howling at the moon, or you're up in Canada and you want to collaborate a little bit and do a little broadcast and have a little fun with some music and some whatever comes with you and Franco, I'd be glad to, you know,
Sure.
I'd be glad to produce something like that or collaborate. That'd be very cool. That'd be very cool. I think it'd be very unique. Yeah.
Oh,
I'm
absolutely.
not trying to
And,
push you guys on the edge there, but jump. Just, I'm kidding. Yeah.
well,
Yeah.
we're here to have fun with it
Yeah.
also. Yeah, we jump,
Yeah.
see where it goes. I mean, we're in that next level of creation, as Marco has mentioned. So, and this is the beauty, because when we get into this state of being, you know, it's no longer anything about manifesting anything. It's about creating everything new, because we're all new now. We're, you know, at a
Yeah.
whole different energy,
Yeah.
and we're a whole different platform. It's just, yeah. So that's now is when the imagination more than ever becomes a major factor on
Yeah.
the journey forward for all of us.
Very true. Very true. And there's something about we've experienced over the last couple of 2-3 months and really before, but there's something about when people come together. Okay. And of course we have the blessing of an internet where things can be broadcast and shared, which even makes it more impactful because of whoever's connecting in that moment. But yeah, you know, the fact that you come together, even if no one sees it, when the physical coordinates of two souls are coming together that have had this type of connection, big things happen. And I think it's becoming more and more something that you're seeing more and more of, you know, really. It's powerful. It's a powerful thing.
And it's even more powerful when the togetherness occur through spontaneous, joyful resonance rather than mind programming and trying to make things happen. You know, for example, I saw you talking with Franco a few months ago, a few weeks ago, and immediately my soul says, would you be interested to do that? And I said, sure, of course. And then I let it go. And here we go. I mean, it happened very spontaneously. I didn't think about it. I didn't plan it. I didn't force it. TL came and say, hey, do you want to do an interview with Todd? I said, sure. And here I am, you know. So that's how the creative process eventually will occur once we really get to a point where the mind is no more involved as a master dominant action-based. When you surrender to the now, then the now will guide you in an amazing way.
Yeah, that's where the gold is. Yeah, I haven't did on that. You know, I just remember like I went to see a sister. She played the native flute, and she came in the door at my aunt's house, and I went to the back patio and flipped on the camera and turned on some music. I said, "Get your flute out," and we turned it on and do one take. But there is some type of energy when I'll use the word surrender. When you surrender to the resonance of the moment, incredible things happen way beyond anything we could imagine for ourselves. And that seems to be expanding. And maybe that's part of what you were saying, Franco. I mean, that seems to be that imagination, you know, free flowing without obstruction seems to be an energy that's taking physical form more and more every day.
And the thing is too, with the spontaneous thing that you're talking about, just getting into it, is because you don't have another take or anything of that nature, because it's just going out. You have a tendency to go into the state of allowing that fluidity coming through you. You allow yourself to come through, or your higher aspect of yourself, rather than, you know, when you're making a piece and where you're trying to put everything together and you're trying to align it to make it all perfect, then there's so much more mind activity. And that's when the energy is not the same. The authentic part of what is coming out is not the same. So if you say, okay, let's sit here and record an album, you know, that's great. You're going to do that. But if you're going in and say, okay, well, we got to redo it again over and over and over again and change the pieces over until it sounds correctly, a lot of times that can get involved with, you know, us
analyzing and then putting our own spin of what we think is good or anything of nature. But when you let everybody go into that natural state, and Marco is better at sharing this because he does this all the time, is, you know, to allow everybody just to get into that tune and then allow the music to come through each one that's playing the instrument, each one that's going there, and then you're recording it while it's going through. It has a very specific tone, has a very specific frequency, and it is much more impactful in essence, and it's real. It's very real.
Yeah, there is also another aspect about the process, in this case of music, but I suspect that it works for everything. So obviously the conception, the crystallization of a melody comes in one passage, and and the mind is not involved at all, and is only coming from your heart, soul, and as Franco says, human entity, I guess. And that's many artists, not many, but often artists can tap with that kind of crystallization. The problem is that once it's crystallized, then the minds take over and start to say, what we can do with this, right? So the secrets, I mean, not the secrets, but the process is to maintain the heart pure through all the phases, the phases of production until it gets to the audience. And that's where most of us musicians or artists get lost. So if we could maintain the same purity when we conceive the melody or the music or whatever we conceive as an artist, we can maintain that purity in all the phases. So now we rehearsal. Of course, the mind will be involved a certain degree because you have to make some decision, but you maintain an innocence. You don't have a hidden agenda. You just maintain a pure intent to do something for the good of all. And you continue progress in the different phases. So now we record, now we mix, now we package the album, and now we put it out there. If you can maintain that purity throughout all the phases, then when the music arrives finally to the audience, then we will have immensely powerful. And that's where many of us as artists get lost, because then immediately the music industry step in, or the media step in, and then we become corruptible. Because I guess we are not able to maintain the same state of purity that we had at the moment of conception. You know, so that's the ability to remain uncorrupted through all the stages of production is very, very important.
Yeah, I like that. I totally relate to that. Absolutely, 100%. We got a show scheduled with Franco in 35 minutes. I wanted to keep going. I've got to make a phone call and take care of something though. But yeah, this is a great first meeting. I'm really happy that Franco jumped in here. Franco, you don't mind going back to the regular show time in 35 minutes?
Oh yeah, no,
okay
absolutely. I've got other things I can do too. So yeah, no problem.
Yeah,
I just because Morgan had kind of mentioned the fact that it would be great for us to connect at the last bit of when Marco was on. I thought, oh wow, great opportunity to connect all three of us would be. I'm always open for that. So thank you.
So yeah, absolutely. And so yeah, I hope to see you again, Marco. I'd love to collaborate with you. Yeah, I would love to do that. I have a little thing I like to do, and I'm looking for some neoclassical track to do it to.
Okay, sure, of course.
It'd probably be a little different than what you're used to, but it's okay. It's all good. I appreciate it, brothers. Both of you. I see you in 35 minutes, Franco. And thank you so much for coming on short notice. I appreciate that. But that's spontaneous, right? Morgan had the right vibration. She said it's going to be a great afternoon. So it's an honor to be here with both of you. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. Thank you, Franco. Thank you, Marco. See you in 35 minutes, Franco.
Thank you.
Okay.
Take care.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Bye-bye.